I would now like to introduce Ted McCord, who will represent the class of 1968. For over 50 years, Ted has served the university as a student, faculty member, volunteer leader, trustee, and distinguished member of our alumni community. Ted currently serves as Associate Professor of U.S. History in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. He continues to build his resume of Mason service tonight by representing his alumni colleagues in the class of 1968. Ladies and gentlemen, Ted McCord.
Thank you very much, Brian. When I started here in 1963, I never thought that I would attend a gala quite like this. But 55 years later, here we are. Earlier this evening, I had the pleasure of becoming reacquainted with fellow graduates of the class of 1968. These are men and women who possessed a certain pioneering spirit, believing that they were the advance party of what would become a major institution. Surely, our President Loren A. Thompson understood this when he acquired an additional 600 acres west of Route 123, although he was scoffed by many. Nevertheless, in 1968, most community leaders were confident in the future of the college. But the immediate future of the graduates was not without concern. It was a turbulent time when the nation was in its deepest crisis since the Great Depression. There were student demonstrations, protests against the Vietnam War, and civil rights demonstrations. The assassinations of Martin Luther King and Robert F. Kennedy shook the country to its core. George Mason was not immune to these disruptions, although on a much smaller scale. The sight of President Thompson rushing out of the North Building to defend the flagpole from war protesters is a lasting memory. One professor, James Shea, reached celebrity status when he returned his draft card to the draft board and then went on the lam with members of his family as they were pursued by federal authorities. As inauspicious as the times had been, it did not deter the successful graduates who are with us tonight and who, after 50 years, have retained a deep appreciation for the educations they received at George Mason College of the University of Virginia, as we were officially known. Likewise, we have fond memories of the high-quality faculty who helped shape our futures. I would like to mention just a few. Angela Corey taught international organization with the authority of one experienced in the field. She had been a Lebanese delegate to the United Nations. Stephen Early taught political science and was chair of the department. His father had been the personal secretary of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Dorothy McConkey taught sociology. She became a favorite of the students and later president of 2 colleges. Robert Krug, chairman of the history department, impressed students with his well-organized desktop, became the provost and eventually the president of the university. Marion Bartlett taught psychology. She was a delightful lecturer who had attended the Sorbonne in Paris with none other than Anna Freud. Lee H. Potter brought a scholarly and dignified air to the English department and became the dean of the college to administer academic affairs before accepting a professorship at Wake Forest University. Professor Josephine Pacheco, a distinguished historian from the University of Chicago, never failed to inspire her loyal students. She became the editor of the George Mason Press. H. Mabane Turner, the long-serving dean of students, supported wide-ranging activities, and he even found money to buy uniforms for the baseball team. Eventually, he was recognized for his exceptional leadership as president of the University of Baltimore. And finally, there was Hyman I. Feinstein, the first professor hired by the college in 1957, the founder of the chemistry department, an expert in fluorescence, who also headed the chemistry unit on the Manhattan Project during the Second World War. These are but a few of the professors who left positive marks upon the 1968 graduates here tonight. Among them, I see, and they all happen to be at my table at the moment, I see in the audience Jeff Cawley, a longtime member of the George Mason University Foundation Board of Trustees. Jeff also was the former financial director for the city of Fairfax. Michael Johnson created the Fairfax County Archaeology Program, and he helped set back the age of prehistoric man in Virginia by thousands of years. Elizabeth Monroe is a professor of history at Indiana University who has written extensively in constitutional history and is a person I sometimes see at history conferences. In conclusion, the graduates of 1968 emerged out of the turbulent 1960s. We persevered, and we succeeded in our life's work. Ours was the only class that had an option to become either an alumnus of the University of Virginia or of George Mason College. A small number opted for Virginia, but the rest of us helped to establish the great public university that Mason has become. And because of our pride in this school, we established the Alumni Association so that each graduate could be connected to our college here in Northern Virginia and always have a welcoming home to which to return. Tonight, we celebrate with the Alumni Association 50 years of alumni pride and a lifelong connection to our alma mater. Thank you.